Hello, my name is Lorena, and today I'm going to talk about the intersectionality between queer and Latinx identities. So first, a queer identity means identifying as part of the LGBTQIA community, and Latinx identity means being from Latin American descent. So queerness isn't constricted within borders, age, economic class, culture, or religion, which means that anybody can be queer. Anyone in the world, regardless of these attributes, you or anything else, you can be a queer person. So intersectionality means the interconnected nature of social categorization such as race, class, nationality, gender, ability, or sexual orientation. These are interdependent systems of discrimination or disadvantage. So here we see an example of diversity within queer communities and Latinx communities. And at the intersection between LGBTQIA plus and being Latinx contains a lot of variations. For example, you can be a cisgender lesbian Latino, which means you're a woman, you identify as gay or lesbian, and you're attracted to other women and are Hispanic. As well as another example that's Latinx non-binary queer person with a disability, which includes more intersectionalities, which is being non-binary, being queer, being Hispanic, and being disabled. Being a part of the LGBTQIA community and being Hispanic can mean that you might not be able to fit into the Latinx community because of homophobia, transphobia, and vice versa. Some queer people might not feel welcome in their community because of racism, hate within the LGBTQIA plus community. So we can talk about Hispanic and Latinx traditional gender roles. For boys, they are taught not to cry from a young age. They are taught to be intellectual and play with intellectual toys involving science, math, and critical thinking. They are allowed to be messy and playful and be children. For Latinx and Hispanic gender roles towards little girls, they are to play with toys that are associated with their gender, such as makeup, and are told princess stories and kitchen toys, and play with dolls as if they were the parents preparing for being married and motherhood. They are taught to think about marriage from a young age, as I just said. They are expected to do chores with their mothers and help tend to their brothers, even if they're older, and their father. Young girls are not given the freedom that boys do when they act like children. It's when boys act like children, it's okay, but when girls act like children, they're misbehaving. They are taught to sit silent and won't behave most of the time and play in a well-mannered way. The saying ladylike comes into play a lot for Latinx and Hispanic little girls. So for men, they are supposed to be strong and independent, and subconsciously, the only valid emotion for a real man is anger. Men are expected to be in charge in the family, especially in the financial aspects, which leads them to sometimes lie to their spouse about their financial status, which leads to debt and can lead to a lot of alcohol and drug problems. Men are expected to be in charge of the family, as I just said, so they cannot show any sign of weakness. And if they do, it has to be anger. So they are not allowed to express stress, sadness, or vulnerability. So that comes out through anger and violent acts. So the gender roles for Hispanic and Latinx women is they're expected to be of service. That means having a good attitude all the time and never making other people uncomfortable with their feelings or their anger or sadness. They must have a boyfriend or a husband in their early 20s, and even through their teenage years, it is expected that they will always look for a partner, and that's what they are expected to strive for. They do most of the housework, even if they have a full-time job, because it is deemed their main job and their priority above career. So even in this image, we can see that the mother is having a million things to do, but she's still smiling and being okay with doing everything, which is not always the case. You can be upset. You can ask your significant other that also could be working a full-time job to help you in the household chores. Thank you. My partner will take over from here.
General views on sexuality and gender. More than two-thirds of Hispanics identify themselves as Roman Catholics, according to a 2007 survey. Religion plays a very big influence on whether Latinx people will be accepting, since by the Catholic Church it is considered a sin. Many Hispanic/Latinx people view that the LGBTQIA+ is an impulse or related directly to acts of lust or predatory, which is why they oppose children from being part of it and being informed. Some families disapprove of the LGBTQIA+ and believe that the family will not grow. It's hard for families to understand gender other than men and women because of their immense control and traditional gender roles hold. When people don't fit in the gender binary, it can be confusing and scary, so people choose not to accept it. "36% of Latinx LGBTQ individuals report that discrimination has affected their ability to obtain accurate identification documents to some degree. 83% of Latinx LGBTQ individuals report that finding an alternative adoption agency should they be turned away by some degree. 56% of Latinx LGBTQ individuals report that finding an alternative wedding vendor, should they also be turned away, would be difficult to some degree. 33% of Latinx LGBTQ individuals report that finding an alternative hotel, should they be turned away, would be difficult to some degree, and 32% report that some of the finding an alternative. How does intersectionality affect people? A study conducted observed that 55% of children were bullied based on race and 33% were bullied on their perceived sexual orientation. This indicates that a kid of color who might be perceived as queer is more likely to get bullied because of their intersection. In another study, it was found that queer children and teens who were raised in a religious household were more prone to stressors and were more likely to have mental health issues. Religion can be helpful when it's offered with an open mind and without the purpose of making the other person feel guilty for their identity. To conclude, being queer and having Hispanic heritage should be an identity filled with beautiful culture and a secure self of identity, but having cultural expectations of being excluded from your communities, whether based on your identifiers, can be very difficult. The LGBTQIA+ community needs to be more accepting of people of color, and Latinx people need to be more accepting of queer Hispanic people because it greatly impacts our youth. And this is our works cited page, and thank you.